Blooming into parenthood.
All right, so get this. We are diving into something totally new this time around. We've got this blog, right, called Blooming into Parenthood.
Okay.
And it's like this daily journal by a soon-to-be dad, Javendra.
Oh, cool.
And he's chronicling, seriously, everything
Wow.
about, becoming a parent with his wife, Swati.
I see.
And we're right there, like day by day, with...
So we're kind of getting like a real unfiltered view of what it's like.
Exactly. It's like raw and honest. You don't see this kind of stuff every day.
That's pretty cool. So where does where does it begin?
Okay, so picture this. October 21st, 2024.
Okay.
Swati takes a pregnancy test.
Right.
And guess what?
Positive.
Positive. Bam. But here's the thing. Their reactions, not what you'd expect.
Really? How so?
Javendra, he's like totally neutral. Not overjoyed, not freaking out, just neutral.
Huh. It makes you think. I mean, it's huge, right? Becoming a parent.
Massive.
Maybe it's just like shock at first before anything else kicks in.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, hold on.
Right.
And it kind of throws that whole, instant joy stereotype out the window.
For sure. So what about Swati? How's she taking it?
She's at work,
Mm-hmm.
and her mind goes straight to, her career.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Big one, especially for women. In demanding fields. It's a real worry.
It's almost like there's this pressure for women to just be over the moon about it.
Yeah, you have to be happy.
Right. But all the real stuff, like ambitions, all that gets like pushed aside.
Exactly.
That's rough.
Okay, so now Javendra starts making calls to share the news, right?
Mm-hmm.
His mom first. Then a close friend. But not everyone. He's kind of hesitant to, broadcast it.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Maybe it's cultural, like respecting elders first.
It could be. Like some cultures are very particular about announcing things too early.
Yeah, like you want to protect it.
Right, like the evil eye kind of thing. You see that a lot.
It's fascinating, though, right? How these huge personal moments get all tied up with traditions.
Totally. So what happens next?
They head to the hospital
Yeah.
for their first checkup. Cloud9 Hospital.
Oh, I've heard of that place.
And Javendra is blown away by the waiting area. It's got these recliner sofas, super high-end feel.
Fancy.
Yeah, and it makes you think, is all this really necessary?
Maybe is it just driving up healthcare costs?
Or are they just trying to make patients comfortable? Who knows?
That's a good question.
And then, get this, Swati makes a joke about the hospital's tagline.
What is it?
It's anxiety out, happiness in.
Oh, okay. Catchy.
But she's like, more like anxiety in, happiness out.
Oh, that's funny. But, it makes you wonder if she's using humor to cover up some deeper anxieties.
Right. Like she's putting on a brave face.
Exactly. Because let's be honest, hospitals can be intimidating, especially with something as big as pregnancy.
For sure. And this is just the first visit.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
Okay, so the doctor visit itself. Pretty standard.
Like what do they talk about?
Due dates, prenatal vitamins, all that. Doctor says no major diet changes for now. But later that night, things get a little more opinionated, let's say.
Oh, how so?
They meet up with friends, and Swati's mom and her friend Sonali have some thoughts about early pregnancy scans.
Interesting. What kind of thoughts?
They both think hospitals push for them too much.
Mm.
And not because they're medically necessary, but,
For profit.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other debate, isn't it?
Huge debate about ethics, medical testing, all that.
Yeah. Where's the line between actual care and, taking advantage of people's worries?
Right. It's a tough one. And this conversation, it really sticks with Javendra.
So then what happens?
Later that night, he's down a research rabbit hole. ChatGPT, pregnancy websites, the whole 9 yards.
He's going all in.
All in. He even makes Swati a detailed diet chart,
Wow.
super specific.
Wow.
And he's determined. She's going to follow this thing religiously.
It sounds like he's really stepping into this partner role, taking charge.
Oh, yeah. But the question is that what Swati wants?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's great he's supportive, but is it too much?
We get a little peek into that, actually, in Swati's journal entry.
Oh, what does she say?
She's going along with it, his plans and all.
Yeah.
Because she feels like he's more on top of things right now.
Makes sense.
But underneath, there are some deeper fears lurking.
Like what? What's she afraid of?
This is where the blog gets really interesting. Swati's journal. It's where she's really honest, Stuff she hasn't even told Javendra.
Oh, wow. So what is it? What's she holding back?
Her career, her dreams of traveling, and that ticking biological clock, all of it's weighing on her.
That's a lot. It's so relatable. So many women go through those same anxieties.
It's not just about the baby,
Yeah.
right? It's your whole life changing.
Exactly. Your identity, your dreams, everything you've worked for. It's scary.
Yeah, it's huge.
It is. And there's this societal pressure, too. Like, motherhood's supposed to be all-consuming.
They put everything else on hold.
Exactly. And it's not always that simple.
Not at all.
So we're really seeing Swati wrestling with all of that, her own feelings, and what society expects.
And she's excited about the baby, too, right?
Yeah.
But also scared of what it means for her. It's really powerful.
What really stood out to you from her journal entry?
Her determination. She wants to hit certain career milestones before the baby comes.
That's really interesting. It shows how ambitious she is, even with everything else going on.
It's like becoming a mom doesn't erase who you are. You still have goals and dreams.
Right. You're still you.
It's amazing. So day one of blooming into parenthood, definitely a wild ride. Anxieties, cultural stuff, different ways of coping, and like the first signs of how their relationship might change.
You. And that's just day one.
I know, right?
But there's so much more to come, isn't there? Like, how will those anxieties play out? Will Javendra's way of handling things cause problems? Can Swati balance her ambitions with, becoming a mom?
All great questions.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so fascinating. We're right there with them, experiencing it all.
Speaking of uncertainties, that comment from Swati about her biological clock, that really got me thinking.
She's 31, turning 32 soon. And it's clearly on her mind.
It's like society turns up the pressure after a certain age, doesn't it? Like, you have a limited window for this.
It's crazy. And it creates this urgency, even if you're not, like, emotionally or practically ready.
It's a huge pressure for women of all ages and backgrounds.
So as we wrap up this first look at blooming into parenthood, I want to ask you,
Okay.
if you were in their shoes at this stage, what would be your biggest worry or your biggest hope?
It's a good question. Something to really think about, especially if you're thinking about kids or going through it now.
Because in the end, everyone's journey is different, with its own challenges and wins.
And that's what makes it so interesting. It's this raw, honest look at something that's both universal and totally personal.
And we get to follow along. So come back for our next deep dive. We'll keep exploring blooming into parenthood and all the crazy, beautiful moments along the way. Trust me, you won't want to miss it.
I'm in. I can't wait to see what happens next. What strikes me is how this blog, Blooming into Parenthood, it's like it takes us past all the, the perfect announcements and all that.
Right, the Instagram version.
Yeah, exactly. It's like raw, all the messy stuff, the feelings people don't usually talk about.
It's real, and we talked about it before, but like Swati's worries about work, the whole biological clock thing, it brings up all these bigger issues, right? About women, ambition, motherhood, all of it.
Big time. And in today's world, it's like everyone's trying to figure that stuff out.
Yeah, there's no one answer,
Yeah.
no right way to do it. Everyone's got their own thing going on.
Totally. And even Javendra, right? At first, he's all neutral. Then he's deep diving into research. It makes you think maybe he's got anxieties, too, about becoming a dad. Stuff he hasn't even processed yet.
It's like he's trying to take control,
Yeah.
by knowing everything. Which, when you think about it, facing something unknown.
It's a totally normal reaction.
Totally. And I wonder how that'll play out as things progress. His need to control and Swati wanting to do things her way.
Yeah.
Will they, clash?
That's the big question, right? And can they actually talk about it, what they need, what they expect? All of that.
Communication is key, right? Especially now when things are changing so much.
Huge. And
Yeah.
it's not just them, right? They've got families, culture, all those expectations mixed in. How do you balance what you want with what everyone else expects?
It's a juggling act, for sure. And I'm curious to see how they find that balance together.
One thing that really stood out to me, Swati, in her journal, she talks about wanting to hit certain career milestones before the baby comes.
Oh, yeah, she's driven. It's like this idea that women have to choose motherhood or career. It's just...
It's outdated, right? You can have both. It might take some juggling, some compromise, but...
And let's be honest, those compromises, they usually fall more on women.
No doubt. Society's got a long way to go in terms of supporting working moms, recognizing what they deal with.
For sure. And I think this blog, it shows all that.
Yeah.
Without giving easy answers or pretending it's all sunshine and roses.
It's real, which is refreshing.
Absolutely. So we're waiting for that next journal entry. What are you most curious about? What do you want to see happen?
Me. I want to see how those individual anxieties, for both of them, how do they change over time? Will Javendra's way of coping, will that cause friction? Can Swati make her ambitions work with becoming a mom? So many questions.
Right. And how will they define what being a parent means to them while still being themselves?
That's the core of it, I think. And this blog, Blooming into Parenthood, it's like this guide as they figure it all out, changing, growing.
It's amazing. And we get to be a part of it.
Exactly. So to everyone listening, stay tuned. We'll be back soon. More deep diving, more insights, more of Devendra and Swati's story. Don't miss it.
You know, it's wild. It feels like we've just dipped our toes into this whole parenthood thing with Javendra and Swati.
I know, right? And the cool thing is we get to see it all unfold day by day, all the emotions, the ups and downs of pregnancy.
Exactly. Every time we open up Blooming into Parenthood, it's like, boom, we're right there with them. Their hopes, fears, how their relationship is changing.
It's like a front row seat. And what I really appreciate is how honest it all is. They're not sugarcoating anything.
Yeah, it's refreshing. They're not afraid to show the hard stuff, the joy, the anxieties, the doubt, and, you know, those little moments of humor, too, that come out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, remember that joke Swati made about the hospital slogan?
Anxiety in, happiness out. Classic.
It was just the little thing, but it kind of showed how she deals with stress.
And it made me think about how, you know, there's this expectation, right, for expectant moms to be all happy and glowing.
Oh, totally. Like if you're not over the moon, something's wrong with you.
Exactly. But it's not always like that. And I feel like we only see the picture-perfect version, not the real deal.
Right. And that's what makes this blog different. It's like, hey, it's okay to feel all the feels.
It's real life. And there's no one right way to do any of it. Every pregnancy, every parent, it's all unique.
So true. And with that in mind, thinking about Javendra and Swati, what are you most curious about going forward?
I think I'm really interested to see how their worries and hopes, you know, their individual ones, how those evolve as things progress. Like, will Javendra trying to control everything cause tension? Can Swati make her career goals happen while becoming a mom? And how will they deal with all those family and cultural expectations while still being true to themselves? It's a lot.
Absolutely. And how will they split everything, the work, the emotional stuff, all of it? Will they fall into those traditional roles, or will they find a different way, their own way?
It's going to be fascinating to see how they define what being parents means to them.
And, you know, this whole deep dive, it's given us a lot to think about. Modern relationships, all the pressures that come with having kids these days, and how important it is to just be open and honest with each other.
No doubt. This is definitely a journey worth following.
It is. So to everyone listening, make sure you come back for the next part. We'll be back soon, diving deeper into the story, exploring everything that comes next for Javendra and Swati as they become parents. It's going to be good.
Until then, happy deep diving, everyone.